Hello, everyone. This is the episode you've been waiting for. In this episode, I will be explaining how to teach babies and toddlers to fall asleep independently using my approach. I'm not going to tell you all my secrets and methods today because I'd like to reserve some things for my clients, some information for my clients. But there are a couple of methods that I like to explain to help parents understand how to use my non-crying cooperative approach. But first, before I get to the magical methods, let's lay some groundwork. You might be wondering why I am talking about independent sleep methods. Generally speaking, little ones put themselves to sleep when they know how to. So we want to get them to connect sleep cycles at night by teaching them how to fall asleep on their own for naps and bedtime. This is a proven way to get them to improve their sleep. But I believe it's important to show them how to fall asleep. That's not necessarily what most crying methods accomplish. Methods like time check-ins may improve sleep long-term when a little one is very laid back, easygoing, and fairly calm, because they're not getting very upset when they're alone in bed without their parents nearby. They're falling asleep easily. They're more likely to suck their thumb or find another way to relax because they have this built-in system of just being calm and more relaxed, and they're starting to self-soothe emotionally a lot earlier than other babies. So that's what they'll do. They'll just relax, chill out, and then maybe they'll suck their thumb or something and they fall asleep. So that's what sleep consultants are expecting to happen if you use the time check or another method with some crying involved, because those methods are all geared towards that type of baby. They are the ones who can fall asleep drowsy but awake, which isn't always the case. It can be helpful to make these methods work where there's some crying involved. But there's a good number of babies who are not laid back or easygoing. And it's possible that that is at least half of children. This has to do with their temperaments. And I've explained that in other episodes, so make sure you listen to the ones you've missed if you don't know about that. So my methods teach children to feel safe, secure, and they show children, infants, toddlers, how to fall asleep without help. I want to explain a few things to you really quick. So when it comes to this type of thing, like I said, teaching children to fall asleep on their own, I'm not one to go around and telling people, if you don't, your kid's going to sleep terrible. If you don't change this, if you don't teach your baby this, it's your fault. I've seen people say those things, and I don't believe them, because there are lots of babies out there who nurse to sleep, feed to sleep, or with a bottle, or rock to sleep, cuddle to sleep, co-sleeping, whatever situation it is that is the right of the parent to choose. A lot of babies are sleeping just fine like that. Yeah, it's totally normal for them to wake up and want to nurse repeatedly at night. It's normal for all of us to have undiscernible wake-ups where we're connecting sleep cycles without realizing it. But there are also babies out there who are just sleeping great in those scenarios. So I don't think you have to fix those situations. It's more like a child is sleeping poorly. Maybe you want to be proactive when they're very young, which I'm a believer in, because I've seen so much where it's so hard to teach babies when they're older that I just think, because it fits me in my parenting style, go ahead and teach the sleep skills while they're young, and then you're not going to run into problems later. That was a good fit for me. It's a good fit for a lot of people. But another route to go is just, if your child is sleeping poorly, you want to help them sleep better, you need to sleep better, then teach your little one to fall asleep without help, without your company during naps and bedtime. I don't believe it's necessary to use a sleep method at night, except in rare cases. And a lot of times a parent might get the intuitive feeling that that will help them, or I will. And so that's something that I might suggest to a client. And we'll talk about that another time. Here's one other note for you. If your child is in a regression, is learning mentally or physically, like a leap, or they're learning a new milestone, they're teething, or they're in a growth spurt, you may want to wait to work on a sleep method if your child is very needy or clingy. Say it's nap time, you're about to start the method or even the routine, and your child is clinging to you for dear life, super fussy, cries when you lay him down, wakes and cries when you lay him down, whatever the situation, that's usually a time where I'm like, you know what, that's not your kid's typical behavior. Why don't we give them a week or two and see if they do better? So that's a good sign to wait. But if your child seems to always be in a regression, reach out to me. I can help you find ways to move forward without pulling out all of your hair and without stressing out your child. Not that I would pull out your hair, but you know how it is. All right, so let's go back to the groundwork I was laying when I brought up why I even teach this. I've bulleted some other points. So another one is babies and toddlers are very, very different from each other. They cannot all be approached as if they have the same temperaments, or in other words, responses and needs. So typically I choose from 6 methods to find the right fit for someone. 6. I started out with 1, then I ended up with 2, and I just, over the years, I created more and more methods. And so I wouldn't be surprised if I keep creating more methods in the future, because they happen when I run into situations where I don't have a solution. My methods aren't working. There's a new situation, new problem that I have never faced before. And that's exciting, because then I have more solutions for other people. But the point of this is that you shouldn't expect time checks or the chair method or the pick up put down. One method will not fit all the children. But unfortunately, some people do approach babies and toddlers as if they are all the same, and they really aren't. So just understand that when you're choosing a method, that's the case. But also when I teach you today, my tips may not be a good fit for your baby. I'm really just giving you some examples of what to do and hoping that you will figure it out using your intuition. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to follow my baby's lead. I'm going to work with my baby. Meredith gave me some guidelines. This is working for me. In a lot of cases, you won't be able to figure it out because you're not getting that experience that I am of working with hundreds of babies and toddlers, learning from them, learning from parents. Also having, 30 years of experience working with children helps. So work with me if that's the case. I've got all these things figured out for you. You might as well. So just a couple last points before we start talking about the methods. Some methods are more effective depending on the child's age. So like infants, toddlers, I have one method for children that works on all of them, but I modify it depending on certain elements. But the pick up put down method, for example, is a lot better for infants. The chair method, I would say, is better for toddlers or older babies. And I'm going to explain these 2 methods and how I would use them in a modified fashion. Before you use, this is the last point, before you use an independent sleep method, write an affirmation to keep your mind and heart positive and hopeful. This is a way to help your child feel positive energy from you. They'll respond better. They'll learn better. This is a thing. I swear this is a thing. On one hand, this is a tool for helping you feel more calm, not be triggered, not be anxious, but it's also a tool for your child to just feel more relaxed and go with the flow. This is a really beautiful thing. So an example might be, I am supporting my baby. I am teaching my baby to fall asleep on his own. He is responding well. He feels my love. He's cooperating. I am a source of peace. I am a source of love. Just any positive thoughts like that can really calm your heart. And then, like I said, your child will feel that from you. So we're going to talk about the pick up put down method by Tracy Hogg. This is a method I've modified for many reasons. And like I said, I would use this for younger babies, or specifically those who like to be held, aren't standing or moving a lot. It gets challenging when you're trying to get a child to lay down while you relax them and get them to fall asleep. So I like it when they can't stand yet. So typically, if you were to use the old-fashioned version of the pick up put down, you would go through your routine. Then when your child would usually feed or rock to sleep, you would lie them down in the bed, try to get them drowsy first, often. Let your little one relax, help them relax through patting, massaging, caressing. I'm pretty sure it's fine to hum, sing, etc. So here's the thing is, I've read these methods. I know how they work, but I don't use the old-fashioned versions. So you might have heard other things. So you're supposed to pick up your child if they fuss and calm them, but then you lay them back down when they're calm. This should be repeated until your child falls asleep. Then repeat it throughout the night, every nap, and then the next night from that point on. Pick up, put down until your child falls asleep. In the book, The Baby Whisperer, Tracy claimed that this approach would work eventually if parents were consistent. She explained that you might have to pick up and put down your child over 100 times the first time or the first couple of times. But each time, the number could decrease until it becomes easier and easier to get your child to fall asleep in the crib. I'm not quoting her word for word. It's just the basic idea. So I was impressed when I read that. I was like, wow, that sounds really promising. But then I started working with sensitive and high needs kids. And I learned that that is not a good idea. I didn't try it. I just knew about this approach, and parents were coming to me and saying, I've tried this and it's not good. So what happens is it can be really stressful for a baby. It can make it more challenging to get them to sleep because they're overstimulated or they're confused, they're distressed. They may not like their crib anymore. They might cry when they go to their room. They could miss naps, have a late bedtime, miss out on night sleep, and become very overtired, which would lead to more sleep problems, more exhaustion, and grumpiness for all. It might make everything worse. I cannot tell you how common it is for this method to not work, especially when parents repeatedly use the method during the night and the day. Now, again, I'm not saying it won't work, and obviously it works. She wrote a whole book about this thing that she did all the time for families. And so again, I think this goes back to a temperament, working with lots of easygoing kids who are very submissive and chill. And then maybe there's parents out there who are willing to stress out their babies and just push through. I hear advice like that. Just keep going. It's going to work. It's hard right now, but it'll pay off. Well, in some cases it doesn't work, like I said. And in other cases, it's a temporary fix. I see that a lot too. So I think it depends on the situation. But I have a better way of doing it. To make it an effective method, these are the steps and guidelines that I recommend. 1, start the routine a little earlier before your child is very tired, which is different because a lot of people are telling you get your child drowsy. But I think it's because of my experience with kids who don't do drowsy and awake, but awake. They either need to be put to sleep all the way with mom's help, or just doesn't work. And maybe they start to get a second wind, and then we're doing lots more work, and it can be a distressing thing to try to do drowsy but awake. So start the routine a little earlier before your child is very tired, and that is so they don't get overtired or fussy. You want some time to work with them. 2, choose a time period or a number of times that you will pick up and put down your child. So you're putting limits on what you're doing. For example, you could do it for 3 to 5 minutes, or pick up and put down your child just one time the first day. And I'm going to talk about changing things every day, but you can change your pace or your plan every 2 or 3 days. It doesn't have to be every day. And some kids, it's better to go slow. This is number 3, after you've followed your plan, put your child to sleep the old way. I know this is unconventional, and there's going to be a lot of people whose eyes bug out. What are you talking about? You're supposed to do it until it works. Well, I think that's super stressful for mom and baby. And going back to the old way isn't really going backwards. Yeah, I know some people might think it is, but what it is you're going back to what's comfortable, and you're making sure that nap happens. You're making sure you don't push your kid too hard. You're pushing them a little bit and then letting them be comfortable and relax. So it does work, and I have used it many, many times. So I hope you'll try it. It's actually part of all of my methods to go back to what's comfortable at first. You're basically phasing out the old habits by introducing something new that gets longer and longer. So it's a great way to get babies and toddlers to cooperate. So like I said, this is number 4. We're doing this at the same pace for 1 or 2 or more days. Then we're going to lengthen that out for 1 or 2 days and add a few more minutes, or add another pick up, put down. Then get your child back to sleep the old way. Now, here's a really important side note. Don't be tempted to jump ahead if your child is doing well. I can't tell you how many times I have had experience with this. A lot of times it's the dad, or you're doing something and it's working and you're so excited. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go for it. Okay, if you've done this for several days and that happens, go for it. But when you are establishing something new, you're trying to get your child used to it, trying to help them cooperate. You don't want to stress them out. Don't plunge ahead all of a sudden and double the time or triple the time. Okay. We want to be consistent in our progress. We want to keep moving forward. We don't want to jump backwards. We don't want to have things fall apart. You get discouraged and burn out. Your child gets resistant. Again, they might hate their bed or something like that. So don't push them. Spend a couple of days instead of 3, or 1 day instead of 2. But when it comes to the time limit, don't push hard and decide that you can move a lot faster because it was a good day. The next time you do it, your child might become very upset and overstimulated. They might miss their nap. Then you'll be dealing with overtiredness and a cranky baby. And then you're not going to be moving forward that day. So stick to the plan. Patience will pay off. Okay, number 6. The end goal is to get your child to fall asleep in their bed without being held, while you continue to slowly extend the time and help them relax. Picking up your child is the calming factor, but for some kids, it's also a way to get them sleepy. So maybe when you pick them up, you're bouncing and rocking or swaying or something like that. That's fine. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. I want you to follow your intuition, because one of the points is to help them get sleepy. Okay. So you're slowly extending the time, helping them relax. And then hopefully one of these times, with lots of help from you, don't be afraid of helping, your child will fall asleep. It's pretty cool. So I think that there's enough sources out there for you to realize that once you get your child to fall asleep in the crib, you might want to wean them off all the help. You stop patting the whole time. You stop rubbing the whole time. You do it intermittently. You do it slower and slower until you're not helping quite so much. This is like after they're falling asleep in the crib. And then another step, of course, important, is to teach the independence side. And the reason that matters is that if your child is used to you being present when they fall asleep, in the nighttime when they wake up, they are not going to feel safe or secure when you're not there. And so we need to teach them that they can fall asleep in the room alone, feeling safe and secure without you there. And now I've said that twice, sorry. So that in the night, it's not alarming to them. And this is something they're used to and they're confident with. Okay. So this is something that parents miss a lot of the times, or maybe they have a child who can fall asleep just for bedtime and not naps. Or maybe it's just that they're staying in the room, and then we still have more wake ups at night because you're not all the way there. So you're going to follow your intuition and teach your child independence. And a simple way to do that is just to leave the room occasionally while they're falling asleep, but come back, extend the time you spend away when your child is sleepy and when they're in a pleasant mood. Okay. At some point, your child will fall asleep while you're gone. Struggling to talk today, while you're out of the room. If this method doesn't work for your little one, I'm not surprised. I gave you a great idea. I gave you some wonderful guidelines, and it's really just a way of helping you understand how I have created my methods and how you can use them. I actually have a method for spirited children who have a hard time falling asleep without help. They have all that energy. I have one for little ones who hate their cribs, and I have more methods. So there's a reason for that. One size does not fit all. But I still hope that that was helpful to you. So the other method I want to explain is my version of the chair method, or the Sleep Lady Shuffle by Kim West. In this method, the typical route is to go through your routine, get your child drowsy, then lie them in bed. Maybe you don't get them drowsy. Maybe they fall asleep fast enough. You don't have to do that. And maybe you can't. So it might not be a good fit for you to try that at all. Like I said before. Then you sit down in a chair next to your child in their bed. They're in the bed, you're in the chair. You're right next to them. There's a rule that you can be there for emotional support. Now, this is Kim West and other sleep consultants' style, not mine. But you can be there for emotional support, but you're not supposed to physically pick up your child. Okay. You can sit in the room to help your child feel more at peace and to have less tears. I think that when Kim created this, it was a non-crying method. So the expectation was that being in the room with the child would help them not be upset, help them feel calm and at peace. And I'll talk about that in a second. Another rule, you can use your voice to calm your child. And then you're supposed to sit and wait until they fall asleep. So you're just there. Each day, you're supposed to move your chair towards the door a little at a time. And what I read is that it should take about 2 weeks to be able to lay your baby down and walk out of the room while they fall asleep. So what problems do I see with this method? Where do I start? Sorry about that. But what about the kids who don't go into bed drowsy but awake? Problem there. They get into bed and they're just like, wee, I'm having fun. It's really bedtime. Or they get in there and they're mad because you're not there. You're not picking them up. They might cry frantically and get really upset. Some babies can't calm down without being touched or held. Then there's babies and toddlers who feel ignored and upset that their parents are there but won't pick them up or help them fall asleep, and they might get overtired, miss their nap. What about the little ones who cry and cry, can't fall asleep, play and play, can't fall asleep? They need help falling asleep. And there is another scenario. Some of them are too smart and they realize what you're doing every time you move the chair. They realize what's coming and everything just falls apart. So there are definitely little ones who won't learn to sleep better from this method. It's only going to work the way it's intended, that is peacefully, for the most relaxed, easygoing kids. Modifying this method my way might make it effective for little ones who are a little bit sensitive and needy, but I think that most babies and toddlers won't learn from the method, not peacefully, unless they are angelic, textbook, relaxed, easygoing babies. So how do I modify the chair method? Well, before I tell you the steps, let me share one important rule that I teach my clients when they begin using a sleep method, and that is listen to your intuition and be in tune to your child. Stop when things go downhill or when your child gets upset. That might have sounded like more than one rule. I guess in a way it is, but it all goes together. I want you to listen to your intuition. So when your gut says, this is too much, that is not you being a wimp. That is not you not being strong enough. That is you caring. That is you knowing your child's limits. Being in tune to your child means that you can sense what's going on inside them, in their heart, and how distressed they are. Now, people out there will say there's research that proves these things are not harmful to children. These methods that are more forceful, or there's a lot of crying, or you're ignoring your intuition or ignoring their cries. They'll tell you that there's research that says it's not harmful. But the problem is that research has not tested every temperament. That research has not been looked at closely enough. And I think that there's a lot more work to do to know the effects, because we have learned in recent years, I don't know how many years, but in the last several years, we know what helps children develop optimally. We know what helps them have stress resiliency. We know what creates a secure attachment to mom and dad. And that's being responsive. That's being in tune. That's being warm and gentle and kind and supportive to your child, and being consistent with this approach. Sure, you could have one terrible day where you have to walk away from your baby crying because you're so upset you're going to lose your temper. And then 99% of the time you're being responsive. That is not going to be a problem. It's way more important for you to make that space to help yourself calm down. But all the rest of the times when you're responsive and warm and loving and meeting your child's needs, the sum of all those experiences are what are going to help your child develop optimally in every way possible. And when I say way, I mean socially, mentally, intellectually, spiritually, physically. Now I've forgotten all of them that I said, so I don't know if I repeated any, and we know also from studies that those responses will help the baby's brain develop properly and help them have long-term social connection. So it's just better to focus on what we should do and can do for our little ones to help them develop optimally than to say, oh, this is going to harm my child long term. That is not my concern as much. But I do know that we should take into account how our children feel, and that really should matter. And we really should be there for them 100% of the time so that they grow up feeling secure. And that is another way to help them develop optimally. We want to help them have the happiest, safest little world possible when it comes to what we provide. Okay. So I didn't mean to go on that rant. Let's go back to what I was saying about how I can modify the chair method so it is in tune to your child's needs and your intuition, and you're being responsive. So the first step would be to use the method before a nap or a bedtime. So you're planning this ahead, you know when you're going to do it. Number 2, follow the routine as usual until you get to the point where it's time to get your child to fall asleep. And then you're going to put them in the crib and help them relax. And you can start out with 5 minutes. I skipped something. Help your child relax before they go in the crib for 5 minutes, 10 minutes by sitting and reading together, rocking. And I'm going to say 2 things that people are going to freak out about, but nursing or bottle feeding, because I'm not as worried about sleep associations as other people. I don't see them being such a big problem. But we're just trying to get little ones to relax. And that might be the only way you can do that with spirited kids. So it depends on your child's temperament. You can cuddle and, all the things that have to do with helping your child's body feel very relaxed are awesome. Then you're putting your child in their bed. And I'm going to use the word crib, could be a cot, but a crib is what we use in America to have an enclosed space for a child. And then you put your chair right next to the bed where the child is, and you tell them it's time to sleep. I'm really big on using verbal communication, even if they can't understand you, because you get in a habit of just explaining to your child what's going on and helping them feel like you care and you're concerned and you want to prepare them and you want to help them through things. So this is a good habit to be in. So you're explaining it's time to sleep. You can hum, you can sing, you can make shushing noises, pat, stroke, massage your child, help them relax. So yes, you're going to make contact. And after a few minutes in the crib, maybe 5 minutes, pick up your child and put them to sleep the old way. You're going to use this method for naps and bedtime for 24 hours at this pace. The next day, repeat the whole thing, but extend the time in the crib by a few minutes, or maybe you wait a couple days depending on how it went. Okay. If your child loves their crib, then use longer increments of time. If they don't love it, then do very short increments. If your child fusses, reach in and comfort them. Stand up, pick up your child if they need it. When they're calm, sit back down in the chair and try to finish the goal length of time. If they don't calm down, stop, be done. Get your child to sleep the old way. If they aren't improving, slow down the plan. Stay at that point for shorter period of time. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Stay at that point or go shorter for another day or 2. Repeat the method and continue to lengthen it out from day to day as it's going well. And then there's 2 ways to go after this point. You can start moving the chair towards the door if your child is doing well and things are going as planned. Remember, moving the chair doesn't stop you from going to your child and supporting them the way that they need to be calmed and comforted. But go back to your chair when they're calm. Follow the plan for increasing the time if it's working. Eventually, your child will fall asleep in the crib with your help. And I'll talk about independence in just a second because I kind of want to cover the other scenario before I start talking about the independence. So the other scenario is, at this point, going back a little bit, you're repeating the method, you're lengthening it out from day to day. You've just done chair right next to the baby. And the other scenario was start moving it away. Well, this one is just stay there, stay next to your child. They need a lot of attention and it's not going quite as well, then stay next to them. You don't need to put space between you. Honestly, remember that your first goal is just getting your child to fall asleep in their crib. So you don't have to worry about independence yet. Okay, don't force that on them. So stay next to them, help them get to that relaxed state, help them fall asleep eventually when they've been in there longer and longer. And then when they finally fall asleep in the crib, move your chair slowly towards the door. You're just going to move it about 6 inches or so every day or 2. And when you get to the doorway, move your chair out of sight next to the door. Stay within earshot at first. Make sure you call out to your child if they call you or you start to hear like lots of noises in bed or like they're getting out of bed or something. Pop in to let them know you're nearby as they fall asleep. This is one of the best ways to get kids to stay in their beds when they're able to crawl out or climb out or whatever. Maybe they stand up and won't go to sleep. If you pop in and you're like, I'm here, then that's just going to help them with that separation anxiety that they have. They're going to be like, oh, my mom always comes back and checks on me. I'm okay. It's just kind of a beautiful thing when you get a child to be independent, to not take away that time and attention that you used to give them. entirely. At least that quick pop in is very reassuring. So do that until your child is older and you know they don't need it anymore. So I don't use the chair method, even my version, all the time. I don't use it very often. I often combine it with some of my other methods. My methods are more effective. It can be a good choice, though, for people who want a simpler approach. I like that about the pick up, put down, too. I feel like it's simple. So now you know 2 ways to teach little ones to fall asleep on their own without stressing them out. I hope this inspires you to move forward. I hope that it makes you feel like, okay, this is doable. I can do this. This is not as overwhelming. And before I close, I want to just explain one other thing that's really important in my work, okay? I talk about this a lot more in episode 5. So if you want to learn more about this next part, please go ahead and listen to episode 5. And that is about teaching security. It is something that helps the sleep teaching experience peaceful, helps it be a more peaceful experience. I actually have my clients work on building security for 2 weeks because I have a set of instructions and activities that they go through to teach trust and build security. So this is just a way of deepening their sleep and helping them relax and helping them not be afraid when they wake up by themselves. It makes the sleep method peaceful and it improves sleep. And it often solidifies the permanent sleep habits. So I want to explain why I work on this. Number one, it was intuitive. Like I just knew some of my clients' kids needed it. And I had parents come up with some similar ideas. We put the ideas together and went for it. And it was really, really beneficial to the children to do the activities that I teach. I'm not going into detail here, but I will give you a couple of guidelines in just a second. Many babies and toddlers need to be with their parents for comfort and a sense of security. Okay. This is just something that you can read about, you can learn about online. It's not a mystery. This is, some kids just need more comfort. They need more physical contact and they aren't as independent. So this is a major reason that I work on security. There are kids out there who just take longer to calm themselves, to become independent. They could be sensitive. They need that extra comfort I mentioned, and they simply thrive on the connection that they have with their parents. These things are good and right. Absolutely, 1,000%. It's normal for humans, not just babies, to not want to be separated. So what can you do if you are ready to sleep better and not interested in waiting for years? Help your child learn that they are okay when they aren't right next to you or in your arms. Help them feel comfortable and safe when they're sleeping in their beds. And they don't have to be in their own room. They can sleep well in the same room as you. A lot of them can. I wouldn't say that 100%, but they don't have to be completely on their own. It's very reassuring to have company. It's just the way humans are built. Be responsive. Make sure the room is a happy place. Give your child lots of time to play in the room alone and with company. You can learn more about this again in episode 5, okay? You can get the tools and insight you need to move forward with sleep from me in my online programs and coaching programs. So the things I just mentioned, the step-by-step process for building security, the non-crying methods that teach children more trust and security, but how to fall asleep on their own, and give parents those steps to take. So you're not guessing, you're not trying to figure it out, because I can give you the insight about temperament and help you know this is what will work for your child or not. So learn more about my online programs, my coaching programs and services by visiting sweetslumbertime.com. Okay. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you're excited to tackle your little one's sleep in a peaceful way, whether that be on your own or with my help. I'm excited for you. Have a great day. I will be back with you again soon.